Hi guys, welcome to my channel and my Flosstube update. My name's Emily and you're very welcome here to listen to me rambling. Right, first off, thank you so much for the outpouring of support that I received last week after my video. I'll update you straight away because I know a lot of you will be watching to see how things are going. Richard is improving slowly. He is still in hospital and will be in hospital for the foreseeable future. I think, having now looked into it and read up on it, we were very, very lucky not to lose him. It's very serious what he's had, and nobody who has the infection he's had gets off unscathed. So he will have some lifelong issues from this, but he is rallying, he is getting better, he's getting bits of his memory back all the time. He knows my name now and again, sometimes he doesn't, sometimes he does, and he knows who I am and where I fit into the big scheme of things. He got moved from the where the ward he was on to, he's in neurology, like neurology recovery. He's with the stroke patients on one side of the ward, and his side of the ward is neurology patients. So that's where he is at the moment. He's getting restless, he wants to come home. He's still on IV antivirals. I finally spoke to a consultant. He was a stroke consultant. He wasn't the consultant looking after Richard yesterday. But he did kind of basically tell me what I already knew, really. But they're going to retest his, they're going to give him another lumbar puncture and retest his fluid to see what his viral load is like. And that will determine how long he's on the IV antivirals for. And then that'll give us a time scale. Basically, once he's off those, we need to have him well enough to come home safely. And they use the word safely, which means making sure everything's in place so that he's got ongoing care, which he will totally have coming home, of course. And then it's a waiting game to see how well he gets better, really. The biggest issue, of course, is the fact that he still can't see at all. We're thinking mostly it's the messages from the brain, from the eyes not being transmitted to the brain. So that's something that hopefully will improve and maybe resolve in time. So it's just a waiting game now. I yesterday went back to driving my own car because I have been driving his beautiful car for the last 10 days. Partly because it was really cold and his heater works. Obviously, he's got heated seats and heating that works in his car, and it's amazing. And partly because driving it made me feel very close to him because it's his car. But I swapped them back yesterday, and when I went to the hospital to visit, I bought myself a week's parking ticket rather than using the hit and miss machines. You know, if you put in your number plate and it finds your session and you pay in. Sometimes the pay doesn't work, sometimes the coins work, sometimes the card works, sometimes nothing works. So I've been doing that for 10 days. So I've bought myself a 7-day pass, basically, so I can just rock up, park and then go. And every time my number plate shows, it'll show that I've paid for a week's parking. So I'm assuming at least another week in hospital. Realistically, I think it's at least another week in hospital yet. So at the moment, the ward he's on, because they've dug up all the car parks, which is fantastic, there's only 2 hours of visiting a day. So if I'm off work or I can do it, I will obviously want to see him every second I can. So I visit every which one I can, and his eldest daughter, who I didn't really know before, but now I'm getting to know really well. She's proper grown up with her own family, and is getting married in less than 5 weeks. So we need him for that, obviously. It's his eldest daughter. So we've got a bit of a time scale to work to at the moment to get him out of hospital and happy to mobilise. He is happy to mobilise totally, but obviously he can't see. So definitely out of hospital for then. But 5 weeks away, I think he'll be home by I'm hoping we're in a 2-week time scale to get him home. I'm hoping, realistically. So yeah, so she's doing a lot of the visiting too, but that's very much based around her fiance's work, because he works shift work, kind of like me, but in a different sort of genre. But you know, his that they can visit when he's available. She hasn't passed a test yet, so because they live in a town and there's been no need for her to really drive, because she can walk to everything she needs. So she's doing it, but it's slow. Anyway, so yeah, that's my update. He is getting there. Last night when I went to visit, I shaved him. I've never seen him unshaved, and he was beginning to look quite scraggledy. So I was like, right then, when I come back tonight, we're gonna mobilise, we're gonna get this done. So I shaved him, and he had a shower and went back to put his own clothes. He's been in hospital pyjamas, so obviously his clothes were there as well. Excuse me. So put him in his own clothes and tucked him back up in bed, and I think he felt a whole lot better for being washed and shaved. We did knock his cannula out. Oops. Nothing. The medicine was done, but we still managed to knock his cannula out, which means another one. He's probably had about 2 dozen now. He's running out of places to put them, basically. So that one was, I think that one was in his wrist here, on the right wrist here. So we'll see where it is when I go and see him today. But other than that, we did really, really well, and he was back in his bed, absolutely shattered. That knocked him sideways, doing the whole getting up and having a shower thing. Very difficult when he can't see, of course. But yeah, it's just things we have to get used to, and I think he's getting quite depressed in hospital, so he needs to. I keep saying to him, you've got to show him that you're happy to eat and you're happy to do things, and that you're ready to come home, and as soon as we can get you home, we will get you home. So he knows he'll get out the second they let him, he'll be home. And we'll jump through whatever hoops we need to. I'm quite sure they'll have to visit and check that his house is safe. His house is safe. He had it fully adapted for his mum. So, you know, there's already 2 handrails up the stairs, and there's an accessible bathroom. Okay, it's filled with all my things, but you know, everything's fine here, realistically. And I can't see any reason. And then when I'm at work, his two older daughters, they live in this town, so it's going to be very easy for them to come round when I'm not here. And I've got 1 adult and 1 almost adult living here as well, so there's plenty of people here to help. He just wants to be on his own sofa with his cats, really, and I want him around. I find it really weird that I am not allowed to see him for more than 2 hours a day. And it's like, hang on a minute, we are more than grown-ups. You know, there shouldn't be any restrictions. This shouldn't have happened, and there shouldn't be restrictions. But there are, and he is getting better, is the thing. And I'm very, very appreciative, because I understand that a lot of people who have what he's had don't get better. I think the Thursday when I got him from work and I put him in the car, I think that was the point where if I'd have let him go back to bed for a couple of hours, we might have lost him. And I think it might have been that close. But it's all fine. It will be all fine. And it's just going to be a different sort of life, I think, going forwards. It depends. I think now it just depends on whether he gets his sight back and how much sight he gets back, and whether he can drive his car and eventually look to go back to work. His work are being absolutely brilliant. He works for basically a charitable organisation who treat their employees like family. So very fortunate there, really. And I'm hoping that, you know, if he does get back, he does get his sight back, and he can start to think about going back to his work, that they will let him take the managerial role that he was meant to take in the first place, the role he was offered originally. But of course, him being him, he was doing the lion's share of all of the grunt work as well, all the cooking as well, which he's more than capable of doing, of course. But it was too much. He was doing split shifts. He was doing all day 12, 13 hour shifts because he had chefs off sick, not in hospital. Almost, we almost lost him. Not quite that kind of sick, kind of, oh, I've cut my thumb, I need a week off work kind of sick, which of course they totally allow for as well, because it's that kind of organisation where they're like, oh my God, I hope you feel better, please take as long as you want. But equally now they're doing that for Richard, which is fantastic. So, who is actually properly sick. Anyway, that's my update there. Thank you so much for all your thoughts and prayers and well wishes, and I have really felt your support this week, and thank you so much. And now I'm in this weird limbo land where I truck to the hospital, I go to work, I'm trying to work as much as I can. I think we're really going to need it. I think I'm going to have to take on the lion's share here going forwards, which, I'm up for. I am. I just keep on going. Equally, my work are being fantastic with me. I just clock out, go and do my visit, and clock back in when I get back, and my times are adjusted for my break. I don't take a break at work. So I'm, so I can see him. There's no problem me popping out, because luckily I literally work 5 minutes from the hospital. And now I don't need to faff on with the car parking machines. I can get back much faster, because it sometimes takes 15 minutes to get through the car parking machines. I can bypass all of that now, just get back to my car, get back to work, clock back in and carry on with my shift. And I've been in, last Sunday, I went in and made up 5 hours that I'd missed. So I'm about right on my hours, and my work are being pretty brilliant with me. I've got this week of lates to get through. I've got three more shifts to get through this week where I'll visit during work, and then on Saturday I finish at 3, which is when visiting starts, so that's fine. I'll just ask to go like 10 minutes early so that I can get ready and just get to the hospital in time to see him. And then next week I'm on early, which is no problem because I finish before visiting, so that's going to work out really well next week. But I just had these 2 weeks of lates, which I was looking forward to, because I get my mornings where I can stitch and do stuff, and yeah, my world just tipped, my world just turned. But I'm adjusting now to what my normal is going to be going forwards, and once I've got him home and once I can see him and have him here, that's all I need. That's all I need. We can figure out all the nuts and bolts of everything in time, and it's just a case of in time, and as things come up I'm telling people as I need to, and everyone's understanding and allowances are being made for, things that are slipping that I can't fix at the moment. Lots of changes will occur when we get him home, and obviously everything is very dependent on whether his sight comes back. I am very optimistic that he will get some measure of his sight back. I strongly believe that he didn't coincidentally go blind overnight. Just absolute coincidence that he had a brain infection that was literally making his brain swell and pushing on all sorts of things, and a lot of the tissue was very infected. So I can't believe that coincidentally he was just going to go blind on that day, and that if he'd have been perfectly well and at home he would have gone blind that day. I can't believe that that's the scenario. I mean, he's got very poor eyesight, but that's I can't see how that would have been his destiny. And if that was his destiny, then it's happened anyway, but I don't think that was where we were. It can only be due to this, and it's just a matter of how well his brain repairs itself, how well the messages start to get through. He was saying yesterday that he sees shadows now and again, and things out the corner of his eye. He'll see like something, which I think is just his brain trying to start sorting messages. But I understand this is going to take a long time, I think. But hey ho. I have done some stitching. There's our little update, 15 minutes. I'll actually do a little, I'm not going to, I was going to say, I'm going to put a timestamp in and say, if you don't want to hear about my life, skip forwards 15 minutes, but I might put it in the description. But I think the people who are actively watching me probably want a little update, and I really appreciate it, and thank you so much for all the well wishes and all the messages and the comments. I've read everything. I've not been in really the brain space to reply to very much, but I just know that I truly appreciate everybody who has reached out, and thank you so much to the people who've reached out just to say I'm here if you need me, and I really truly appreciate that. Thank you so much. Okay, stitching. Slightly more stitches last week because I'm less panicky, I'm being more realistic with everything, and it gives me a bit of time to myself, doesn't it? It gives me a little bit of my own space and time to think. So last week I did 5,215 stitches, which is about half. It's a little over half the stitches I normally do in a week, apparently, in January, but that's fine. It's absolutely fine. And that gives me a year to date of 48,987, which is quite a lot. This is all my notes are actually on a post-it, so I'm instead of looking down, I'm just going to stick them onto the thing that my I'm going to go and get my coffee. Hang on, I made coffee. There we go. I made a large. This is my large bucket of coffee cup, and I made it so I can smell it. So I thought, right, I'm going to drink that before it goes too cold. So I've got my coffee now, which I'm probably about to spill all over my stitching, knowing me. Right, first things first, I have finished a whip go goal. So my Nutcracker had a goal of 3,500 stitches. Let me find Nutcracker. I've taken it out of the Q-snap already, ready for something else to go in. I've already put something else in. So this was prompt number 8. This is going to be twice this year that Nutcracker's going to turn up. I've done, hello Sid, in total 3,698 stitches into Nutcracker. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you, here's Sid. You're still a bit lost, aren't you, buddy? Hey, still a bit lost. I'll show you what it looked like in my whip parade before I pulled it out for whip go here in front of Sid, and now with 3,698 stitches he looks like this. This is an Artisy mini pattern. He's mini Nutcracker. He is that size, and I'm really pleased with my progress. Today he is sitting at 51.56%, so he's over halfway there, over halfway finished with the Nutcracker. All these white stitches up here are now in, and the top piece of his moustache is in, and then I just concentrated on the reds, getting some of the reds in. I've basically been colour completing some of the reds, and I had one long strand that I realised I'd finished my 3,500 stitches, so I stitched in my one long strand, hence why I'm over. It was a very long strand. I don't know why it was such a long strand. Anyway, so my Nutcracker is going back into my whip pile, which I have now put away, because now I need to clear the decks a bit, because if Richard comes home with very little vision or no vision at all, he needs to not have trip hazards. So I am starting to put away all the bags and boxes. I'm a terrible lever-outerer. So I'm starting to clear the decks so that I need the upstairs corridor clear. There's currently things waiting to go up into the loft, so I will do that, get them out of the way. And down the sides of the bed, there's bags and boxes, like my whip boxes were still there. I'll get all of that cleared so that it's a very clear route for him to get round the bed and to the ensuite, so that and once he's in his ensuite, you know, he doesn't need an accessible bathroom. He's got a bathroom he can use with his eyes closed, because he's used it every day for 20 years. And it's a tiny little room, and he knows exactly where he is in there. So I'm not concerned at all about his personal care. He will do his own personal care just with his eyes closed, essentially. And I can shave him because I did it last night, and that was fun. And he looked so much better. I think he felt a lot better, but my goodness me, he looked like him. He just looked so much better. So that was nice. And we'll not let it get as long again. Now I know I can do it. We'll not let it get as long again. I just didn't, he wasn't up for sitting up for that much, but he sat up really well now. You know, he can sit up now and he can walk about. just can't see. So anyway, Nutcracker is done. So prompt 8 there. That's my first one for February out of the way. So I need to get myself from my little box. I did loot from my box yesterday to jet wash the cars, but then I used my card anyway, but then I used the cash later on, so yeah, it is what it is. So I owe myself £6 for finishing prompt 8. So into box 8, I will put the Queen, put my £6 in there, and that's box 8. Has got half its money in it now, and now the sun's come out, which is going to affect us a little bit, I think, because the sun's actually coming over that house in front of us, coming up the side between the two houses, next door's house there and that one there. The sun's just poking through, so it's going to hit behind us there. That's the sunshine there. So I might twist a little bit so you'll get a little bit more of my crappy stuff there that I've not yet tidied up, and I'll move here and the sun will just hit the houses behind. Hopefully we'll be okay to carry on. Okay, so I've also, let me find where I am, to get on with my 324. I'm up to date for today. I've done today's block. So what I decided was that the day Richard went into hospital was day 1. He has been in hospital this many days. So I'm just going to go all the way across the top. It ends about there, and then I'm going to come back here and just carry on the next one. Okay, so last week I was missing 304, which was this motif here. I bought myself 304 yesterday. So yeah, today I've done this block here and today's block, which is the block for the 19th. So I am right up to date, and we have been in hospital 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 2 weeks today. That's 2 weeks he's been in hospital so far. So this 324 is nearly a year. Well, it's what, 10 months, isn't it? Yeah, it's about 10 months. So hopefully by the time I finish 324, we will be as near to back to normal as he's ever going to be, I hope. So 1 block a day from day 1 of going into hospital, and we'll see when he comes out, which is my next goal, is to get him out of hospital and home, where I think he will thrive. He will thrive at home with his people. And just to keep myself right, I am gridding this with the Gutermann filament, just to keep myself in line really, and I'm doing it as I go. So I'll do these, I need to drop these down. I have at the moment a split in the end of my finger that when I'm threading when I'm putting this Gutermann in, the end of the needle slips into, not when I'm stitching cross stitch because I stab stitch, but when I'm stitching like sewing method, it slips straight into the little split. That's my cross stitch, permanent cross stitch injury here. Is there, you can't, it's not going to focus, where I've got like a permanent little flap of skin where my needle catches, as that's my underneath hand. That's my permanent cross stitch finger flap there. You can see it just about, just from how much stitching I do. And then that goes down out of view. It works its way down, and then it sort of re-nicks itself. But that one I can deal with. That one's painful and bleeds, and on white fabric. So I do the Gutermann as and when I feel like I need to. At the moment I'm quite on track there, and it's fine. I just don't want to make a mistake with my spacing and find that I've got to frog out tons. So I got into a blue today, which was really nice. This was $7.99. Yesterday was the colour that I'm using for what the cat saw, 3756, something like that. Anyway, that was that funny grey mauve, and looking at that was a very dirty piece of DMC. I will wash this when it's finished. It's going to be filthy. All my stitching's filthy. If I'm picking something up and down every day for a whole year, it'll be filthy when it's done. It's DMC. It's white Zweigart. It'll be fine. I'll pop it in the washing machine when it's done. I know it'll all come nice. So yeah, that's where I am on 324. I've put in 474 stitches into this week. I'm just keeping count, just because I am keeping count of my stitches this year. So 1 block a day on there is good. And what I'm generally doing is doing every other day. So I do my little block of 25, and then, so I probably won't stitch on it tomorrow, but then the day after tomorrow I'll do my little block of 25 and I'll do the motif. I did it today because I bought my 304 and I wanted to catch myself up. So other than that, I've stitched on 2 things. My Celtic lady, 3 things. She says moving a Q snap to find that I've actually done a bit more. So last time I filmed, my Celtic lady was here. I've put in 1,367 stitches this week, and I'm getting down into the wide part of her dress. She's now here. So her dress is basically going to fill the bottom part of this Q-snap. I will move the Q-snap up, obviously. I've still got a good dollop of fabric underneath. It's got plenty of fabric, which is really good. We're not going to be tight at all. But as you can see, I'm kind of bringing things down together, and this was at the bottom of my page of pattern where I'd folded the pattern. I am using the original piece of like cardstock pattern and just folding it up and colouring it in with an ordinary lead pencil. So that's what I'm doing. All this gold work here is 1 stitch too low. I've made a mistake. It doesn't matter at all. When I get to the bottom, I'll make it work. It's not any kind of problem, but these stitches here don't line up with the shading. But you know what? I am not fixing it. I'm just going to let it roll down to the bottom, and I will adjust something at the bottom. So considering that I've stitched the hand and the basket in this month's rotation here, her dress was not very far on. I think this bit was, the back of her dress was there. I've not done a lot of that, but so I've still got quite a bit to go this month. I've got 1,600 more stitches. I'm actually today at 3,400 in total I've put into this. So I've still got another 1,600 stitches. I think easily I'll get my Whip Go Gold this month on this piece. I don't think there's going to be any problem getting my 5,000 stitches into this one this month. And Posty's about to come. Has he got a packet for us or just letters today? Just letters today. There we go. No problem with the postie. I don't have to jump up and go and answer anything. There we go. So Celtic lady, she is coming along. Haven't touched the top at all, but currently she looks like that. And I'm just going to carry on working in the bottom of her dress. And I'm putting in the gold as I go. And it's fine. The only thing I'm not doing is beading at all. So I'm leaving little gaps. Any of the little gaps are for beads that are any higher up than there, because actually I've got some stitches. I really must get some of that colour on and fill in those stitches there. But you can see like there's little gaps. Those are going to be beads. Little gaps everywhere. But we're going to balloon her skirt, balloons out in a great big like almost train with loads of scrolly, loads of gold scrolls in the bottom of her skirt. So I've got another 1,600 stitches to put into her skirt, and I will do that. Oh, Sid has melted. Sid melts because he's extra large plush. When he flops, it's like he just his fur just sort of melts. There he is. You've seen the thickness of this cat's tail. It is insane. Anyway, he's a very plush cat. He stays close to me when I'm home. When I go back through, he'll probably come back through and sit with me. I might sit through here now. It's not too cold today. It's been perishingly cold, which is partly why I stayed in the big car, because big car's really warm. But little car for a week now, because it's number plate recognition in the car park. So I'm kind of forcing myself to use my car for a week. Otherwise, I possibly would have stayed in the big car. Love my little car though. It's so nice to drive it again after not driving it. I have got a slow puncture in the back passenger wheel, but I just check it every morning and it's fine. Put a bit of air in it every morning and it's fine. Right, Celtic lady, trucking along. So when I took the threads, these little thread drops that I've done, oh, a game changer, honestly. So much easier to just, you can see I'm in a bit of a pickle, bit of a mess here, but it is so much easier using the thread drops. They were never my thing. And then for little bits of thread like this, oh, it's so easy. So these are my needle paints here. And then I've just got the DMC, which is only going to be used in the borders now, but I've got them there ready. But I'm starting to get a bit thin. Some of them I've nearly used. The couple of strands I've put on, look, this one here, I've only got one strand left on there, and I'll just cut a couple of strands and add them on. But that's amazing. I can just carry that with me. That's because it's on a 28 count 2/2. It's super easy. I'm doing it on 28 count because of the beads, which I will eventually put in. Yeah, so it's so easy to stitch on because it's lovely and big. It's lovely and big. Is it 28 or is it 32? I think it's 28, you know. I think I'm doing what it wanted. So there should be a bit more progress. I should be nearly at my goal next week, hopefully. Hopefully nearly there. We've still got, it's the 19th today. We've still got 9 days. So yeah, by the time I film next time, we should nearly be at my goal. I'm hoping that I will get to my goal on that at the end of February. Perhaps not this piece, but it is what it is, and I'll catch myself up another time. And I have not worked at all. It's still where I left it last week when I filmed last week. My Seasons Trees has a little bit more cat hair on it than it did last week, but it's still exactly where it is. I've not put a single stitch into it. It's still just propped up against the where I filmed last week, and I have not put any more stitches into my cross stitch studio. This page came out on the 14th. And I'm now very, very much behind. We knew this was I knew I'd get behind anyway, but my life has changed dramatically. So, gotta give. Something's gotta give. And Cross Stitch Studio, hey ho, as given for now. When I took the Nutcracker off the Q-snap, I did pull out my Amazing Animal Kingdom. And yesterday morning, I put in 500 stitches into the Amazing Animal Kingdom. This is slated for 5,000 stitches this month, so I've done a tenth of it. I've done 500. If I get 5,000 into it, I will be thrilled to pieces. If I don't, I'm not going to break my heart. I will catch myself up. So it's here now. All I've done is I had a strand of green on the needle. I stitched all of that in. So that pretty much took into the little greeny bits down here. And then there is a huge chunk of black. So I have 310, that is 310, one like random old skein of 310 there. And I'm just going to pop in black stitches, easy peasy. There's probably, I'm going to say there's probably 1,000 black stitches there, just looking at me in this piece here. So that's where it is. I'm going to put in more black stitches and it will go from there. But I'm going to do my best with that one. I put in 500 yesterday. It's sitting at 7.27%. So we'll see how we go. That's standard size, max colour, Amazing Animal Kingdom. It's obviously an Amy Stewart Haid. So another bookshelf. And then the only other thing I've got to show you is my bookshelf. I stitch on it every single day. It's just about at the end of the year now. So I am basically 2 months behind myself, so 14,000 stitches behind. But that's not the game I'm playing this year. The game I'm playing this year is to stitch on it every day, and I have. So in this last week, I've put in 1,296 stitches, which as of last night was 31.99%. This morning I've put in a very hugely long, they were on the bobbin, huge long strand of 3799. Don't know why it was that long. It's longer than I comfortably stitch with by about 8 inches, it was too long. But I put that in this morning and we're now at 32, just I think 32.01 or something percent now. I've put in 100 and something odd stitches. So last week when I filmed, it looked like this. I've not moved the Q-snap, I don't think, since then. Now it looks like this. I'm filling out stitches here, greens and greys, and there's an awful lot of navy blue going to be going in there. So I'm just going to keep on working in this section here, just plopping in stitches. And I think I've put stitches in around this little I think it's more like a drop of magic, you know, like a ching with a magic wand, rather than like a shooting star or anything. That's what I think it is anyway, but it could be whatever you want, I think. I think possibly at some point I will put some colours in here. I think the colours here will be in this, and they'll be in this starry thing here as well. So if I fancy changing up to something light, I'll put some colours in that will probably be in all 3 of these places. But there's plenty of variance there for me at the moment, plenty of colours for me to pull from and work within. You know, when I pull this piece up on my pattern keeper, there's lots of stitches. It's not like a ninja stitch here and here and here. There's a good splattering. You can see it's really confetti, but it's confetti with a lot of the same colours. So that's a good jump of stitching I can put in there. I mean, I've already stitched on it today, so there's no stress for me to put more stitches in it today. I might do, but I don't need to. And that's my stitching. So, total of 5,215, which, you know, is a good week. It's an okay week, considering that I'm doing a lot of hospital visiting and my brain is busily occupied elsewhere. Now, easy knitting. I thought I better do some easy knitting. Keep my brain from freezing up while I'm waiting for going in hospital ward. You know, if I can get there 10 minutes early, I get there 10 minutes early, and you have to stand and wait until they let you in. I'm the one now I would never have been the one. I'm knitting immediately, of course I'm knitting immediately. I've never been the one to be the one to go out and press the buzzer and go, come on, it's time, let us in. But now I am that person now. I'm now like, bzz, 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 come on, it's 7 o'clock, let us in. And everyone's like, and huffing at their watches, but no one else goes to move. So I'm like, well, I'm going to move. So I press the button and go, hi, it's time, can we all come in? And they're like, oh, visiting already? I'm like, yes, let us in. We get 1 hour, let us in. And now that's me. And I'm like, hi, thank you for opening the door for us all. We're all waiting. Did you deliberately wait over 7 o'clock to let us in? Anyway, I've become that person and I don't care. I think that's from working in a supermarket and dealing with people all day long. I've stopped being the quiet little person who can't speak and become the, right then everybody, shall we see if they're going to let us in then? And I literally do that. And like when I was having to man the car parking machines, when I'm in the queue for the car parking machines, everybody's elderly. And they're like, oh, I don't think I can do it. I'm like, righto, I can help you, just like I do on the SCOs at work, the self-checkouts at work. I'm like, hang on a minute, stand clear, I can help. Dear, oh dear, I've become that person. Oh dear. And then a lady came through my self-checkout the other morning and she went, were you waiting at the hospital the other night? And I was like, yes. And she was like, oh, isn't it a nightmare? And I was like, yeah, isn't it? We had a little chat because her mum's on the stroke ward and we'd been waiting. And obviously she'd been watching me knitting, waiting. And then she was like, were you waiting at the... And I was like, yeah, I'm there. That's me. This is now my life. I work here and I stand there till I can go and see my man, who I badly want home. Gosh, I hope this time next week we're almost home. By the time I do my video next week, I really, really hope we are in plans to get home. I'm saying that loosely because he might need a 3rd week of the antivirals, but he's so much better. But obviously how he isn't representative of how much his viral load is. So we will see. Anyway, easy knitting. I decided that I needed something I could do mindlessly. I pulled up Ravelry and I found a pair of sleeves. So I'm going to I'll put it to show you loosely what I mean. This is a pair of sleeves. It's sleeves. They were knitted flat with a lace pattern up. Basically, you knit a tube, you flatten it, you knit across the back, and then you knit a tube. I've made a pair before that I made for my sister's wedding, because at the time I had guttate psoriasis, another helpful virus that we all love. That one is simply strep, but in people who are genetically predisposed to it, you can get psoriasis, and I did when Flora was a baby, and I was I was like a slug. I shed skin constantly. My body decided it was going to make little circles of skin about the size of sequins, and I shed skin constantly, and it got to the point where it was creeping up my neck and creeping onto my hands and getting in my hair, and then I finally went and got dermatology appointments. So by the time my sister got married, we're talking 15 years ago, I still had marks all over my skin. So I knitted myself with a lovely, I think I hand dyed it. I think it was natural silk that I dyed navy blue. My brain's not quite managing it. I know it got washed in the washing machine and got ruined. But I made myself a pair of sleeves then. So I thought, right, I have got a wedding coming up in 5 weeks. We'll see. I've not sorted out any clothes for it or anything. I need to sort that out, but I'll sort that out at another time because my brain's not really working at the moment. So favourite yarn of all time to knit with is Drops Alpaca. It's cheap, it's cheerful, it's 100% alpaca, as the label says. It's 100%, he's 100% alpaca. I have this yarn, I have 2 huge Wool Warehouse gauze bags, organza bags, the biggest bags they do. They're huge. I have them full. I had a sweater quantity of this. I literally have like 12 or 15 balls in this colour. It goes on sale every now and again, so I used to buy an awful lot of it. I think I've got every colourway, and it comes in a lot of colourways. I literally have tons of this stuff, but I've got sweater quantities of maybe 4 or 5 colours. So I picked the purple because it's a good colour for me. It is literally one of my favourite colours. It's colour 4400, and it is sock yarn essentially. It's 4-ply, and it is lovely, and you can wear it against your skin without it being disgusting. It is super yummy. And so I didn't really use the pattern. I started knitting the pattern and thought, oh, this is just, I'm not going to be counting. So I started again. This is where I am. I knitted flat for, I think, 6 rows of garter stitch for a cuff, and then I put it on. I'm knitting on 3.75 millimeters, which is more than the yarn needs. So it's slightly loose on its gauge, but it's going to be lovely. And I'm knitting a tube. So I can just go around and round and round and round and round, and I'm going to go up my arm, and I'm going to keep on trying it on. And when I need to have it a bit wider, so my arm gets wider here, if it isn't going to fit comfortably there, I will simply increase, hence why I've put a stitch marker in. That is my seam up the inside of my arm. However, I don't need a seam up the inside of my arm. I am knitting it in a spiral, just like a sock. It's basically going to be a tube, a sleeve. It fits perfectly at the moment. This is your tiny little 9-inch sock needle. Look at those needles. Isn't it gorgeous? They're so tiny. Knit Pro Zing, my absolute favourite go-to circular needles. Just got it off Amazon, and it fits perfectly. I've got quite long arms for my frame. I've actually got quite long arms, so I always have an issue with jumpers, especially woolen jumpers that will shrink. So I will make it so that it sits there. That is where I like a sweater to be. So I've basically done a cuff at the moment, but as time ticks on, it will be a sleeve. And when I get to the point where it gets to here, and I imagine I will have increased a fair few stitches by then, I will then put it on a flat needle, which I have in the living room. A bigger circular needle. I always knit flat knitting on circular needles. My grandma used to do it, and I used to think, why on earth does she do that? Because I always use long flat needles like this stupid thing. I would never knit on these now. These are stupid. I am a circular needle knitter. Even if I'm knitting flat, I will just go backwards and forwards on a circular needle. So much easier. Yeah, I'm just gonna stand. I can knit. I'm literally doing knit stitch. It's garter stitch, but it looks like stocking stitch, because all the backs of the stitches are on the inside of the spiral. So it's a perfect compromise. I'm just doing basic knit stitch and just going round and round in circles, just like you would for a sock, except it's a sleeve. Well, at the moment it's a cuff, but we'll see. And if I get it done, depending on how long I'm standing there at the hospital, and if, you know, how much light Richard needs in the living room when he does come home, I might sit and knit next to him rather than sitting and stitching next to him, because we'll just see. If by then he's light sensitive, he might be light sensitive and he might not like my very bright stitching light. If that's the case, that's fine. We'll just deal with that, and I will knit. And if I get these finished in time for Nick's wedding, I'll have a pair of sleeves to wear. If I don't, I'll figure something else out. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. This is just to keep my hands busy while I wait, and I can just knit without even looking at it. And I've got one small ball of wool yarn in my pocket, and I can just knit, and it's tiny and it's no bother. Obviously, if it gets to the point where it's 5 foot long, because it goes from there to there to there, I'll have to roll it up and put a safety pin through it. We'll see. We'll see how we do. But that's that. So I've got a little bit of very, very easy, very pretty, very soft knitting just to keep me busy while I'm waiting, which is lovely, which I really needed, I think. I needed a little bit of mindless knitting. Sid, oh, sweetheart, you're about to sit down on the piece of fabric I'm about to hold up. So, otherwise, I'm still thinking about all of this, my long dogs. I still want to use this fabric. The piece of fabric I bought thinking it was the same fabric is not the same fabric. It's unbelievably pale. This is for 2 new long dogs. Yeah, not happy with this. I wanted it more that colour. And I've looked and I've looked and I've hummed and I've hard, and I'm going to dye this. I know I've bought a piece of more expensive than plain. It's not what I want. So I am going to dye this piece of 18 count Ada to more this colour, but with mottling. With mottling. I can't get this vintage Atlantic or something. Anyway, whatever it's called, vintage Aqua or vintage Atlantic or something this is called. I cannot get this in an 18 count or a 36. It comes in 32 and 28, which is not what I want. I want 18 count because I do want to use this purple Belladonna, which is purple. So that's bye-bye. Which means that both these, that will be wrong as well. I'm tempted to stick that in the dye bath so that they're the same colour, because they are the same. So if I dye this fabric and this silk at the same time, technically they should be the same colour, yes? I'm aware that's a dinky dye silk that I'm contemplating sticking in dye. We'll see. I might not be brave enough to ruin a dinky dye. But we'll see. Maybe I will. Maybe I won't. I'm still thinking of, basically, upshot of it is, I'm still thinking about it. But at some point I will apply some aqua turquoise teal dye to that piece of fabric and we'll see what we get. And that dinky dye I may have plans for that isn't cross stitch related. We will see. That's that. I'm still thinking about 2 new long dogs. I haven't yet processed what I'm going to be doing. Now, oh my god, Cosmo's bled on it. Ugh. I've got a little bit of Cosmo damage on this piece of fabric. Luckily I don't need the edges. This piece here is called Elemental, and it was a Lakeside Needlecraft Fabric of the Month. And I really like this. It's showing a little bit bland It is printed. It's like fabric. This is like Fabric Flair, but this is Lakeside Needlecraft exclusive. It's 36 count. It's my favourite count. I can use 1 strand of DMC or 1 strand of silk, and it looks beautiful. 2/2. I still want to do the fantastical, oh, I'm going to put it up here. It is, I don't think it's Tiny Modernist. I know where it's from. I've got it written down. It is Tiny Modernist. It's the current Sal, the fantastical greenhouse. I was going to dye this up to make it more grey because I don't think the white greenhouse is going to pop on this. Now I've had an idea. This is 36 count, so it would need size 11 beads, tiny beads, as opposed to these here, beads I've got there, the seed beads there, they are size 8 beads, which are like your standard seed beads. I would need petites, so size 11 seed beads, the little ones. I'm going to get frosted white opaque beads. I'm going to buy some, and I'm going to start this on this piece of fabric, this that I've now folded up microscopically. I'm going to start it on that piece of fabric, and the white greenhouse frame I'm going to do in beads so that it shows up on the fabric and gives it some texture. So that's what I'm going to do there. So I'm going to order me some beads. I'm going to order my poor little car a new set of wheel trims. I smashed up 2 of them when I burst my tyre, and one of them I lost in an enormous puddle. So I've got 1 wheel trim left on my car. So I'm going to buy myself a new set of wheel trims for my car off eBay. I've got some money in my eBay account at the moment, so I'm going to buy myself some beads. I'm going to buy myself a new set of wheel trims for my car just to cheer my car up a little bit. And I need to get some sticker decals because my car's starting to go a bit rusty. My car is 13 years old. I've had it for 2, but it's 13 years old. And even though it is powder blue and absolutely beautiful, it is starting to get little rust spots on it, where it's obviously had stone chips and is now starting to show its age a bit. So I'm going to chip off the rusty bits, put a bit of primer on, and I'm going to get some vinyl stickers, probably small butterflies or little blue hearts or something, and I'm going to apply a sticker over each spot of rusty bit. And that's it. That's what I'm going to do. And if my car ends up covered in butterflies, my car ends up covered in butterflies. I don't care. I'm past caring. I will clean up my rusty bits, prime them up, not try to match and fix the colour. I'm just going to stick a sticker over it. They're tiny, you know, like they're little pinpricks, but I can see them and I know that they will grow. So if I just kind of deal with them, put a little bit of primer on it, and then just stick a sticker on, I'll be fine. Be all right. My brain's starting to tick over again, starting to function. I'm eating again, which is good. I went nearly a week without properly having a meal at all, and obviously there's only so long you can do that for before you start to run very empty. I was getting wobbledy. Oh yeah, I gave blood. So right in the middle of not having eaten for a week, I gave blood it was the 14th. It was February the 14th I gave blood. I booked it on the 13th. Just lucky they sent me an email going, do you want to book an appointment? So I went on. It had been, I think you can give every 3 months or every 4 months anyway. I was allowed to donate, so I thought, right, let's have a look. And I could have booked in April, or I could have booked February the 14th. So I booked February the 14th, and I thought, you know what? I know I've not eaten properly for 10 days, a week, 10 days, whatever it had been by then, a week, I think. If my iron's too low, they won't let me donate anyway. Well, my iron was fine. I think 120 is the limit for ladies. I was at 132. Did have to go in the machine because it did float. And I said, oh, mine always floats. I always had to go in the machine. So she put it in the machine. It was 132. It was absolutely fine. Yeah, the next day I was, I call it being sparkly. When you go, where you basically, the blackout starts to come over you. And I was at work and it was stupid. And I thought, this is absolutely stupid. Get a grip of yourself. It's time to start just going back to normal. So I'm getting back to normal, and I'm feeling a lot better for it. I have to admit, I am feeling a lot better. So I'm no help to him. I'm no help to him if I'm running on empty. So time to sort myself out and get myself back to normal. My coffee's gone stone cold, but it has been an hour. Right guys, I'm going to insert just a couple of pictures here and I'm going to get off. And what time are we actually at? Nearly 10 o'clock. I'm on a 2:10 today, but I will be visiting between 3 and 4. I think I'm in the afternoon visit tonight. Might be the evening. I think it's the afternoon because Nick's doing the next 2 days. Nick's doing one and I'm doing one, just because I've got 2 lates and I don't want to lose 2 hours of pay, because they're only 8-hour shifts. So if I lose 2 hours each shift, I start to lose my hours. So I'm going to just lose the one, and that, with my break accounted for, it's only half an hour I'll lose. So that's not so bad. Well, it'd be about 40 minutes but when I've driven there and driven back and that. So that's not so bad. It's not so bad. It doesn't accumulate quite as much. And I was over 40 this week anyway, so on my hours, so we should be all right. Needle Minder of the Month thing. The British ones were dispatched yesterday. You should get them today or tomorrow at the latest. And the internationals, I'm hoping I will drop off today, if not tomorrow. And my two 3-monthers, they went yesterday, so they're on their way. I've just got the international ones are all ready to go. I just actually physically need to go and drop them off. So yesterday I just posted the British ones because obviously they just need a stamp and a proof of postage, whereas the other ones they've got to do the thing. So I'll drop them off. I didn't want to just drop them all off at the same time, so I'll drop them off today, hopefully tomorrow at the latest. I'm not very good at organising, but it's all ready to go, and that'll be that. And we'll keep on trucking along. I'm really hoping we continue to improve and have a better week. And hopefully by the next week, next Wednesday, when I do my video, I'm really hopeful that we will be very nearly ready for home. I'm not going to say home already, because realistically, I think we've got another week. I think realistically we've got another week in hospital. But I want him home. Obviously I want him home. I hate not being able to see him. But we'll keep going. We'll keep going. Right guys, thank you for your support. Thank you for all your kind well wishes. I truly, truly appreciate it. And we keep going. We're just going to keep on going. Thank you for watching me. And I will see you around about this time next week. Bye bye.